Crippled Janitor saves Runaway Bride. So still, she almost didn't look alive. Her dress shimmered in the soft light, the lace wrapping delicately around her shoulders, her hair pinned in a perfect updo, the kind you see in magazines, the kind brides dream of since they were little. But not Vanessa. Her eyes didn't sparkle, her hands trembled, and her heart, it felt like it was being squeezed by invisible hands. Outside the door, bridesmaids laughed nervously. Her father barked orders to the wedding planner and her groom. Well, Jordan was probably checking his cufflinks and smiling for the camera. But Vanessa was drowning in silence. This wasn't love. This was a contract, a performance, a prison with chandeliers. She remembered the first time she met Jordan at a gala. He said all the right things, bought all the right gifts, said he loved her by the second week. Her father loved him more. He's perfect for you, sweetheart. The kind of man who builds empires. And she wanted to please her father, wanted to prove she could make something work. Even when she found a message on Jordan's phone, even when she saw him whisper to another woman at the engagement party, she stayed. Because leaving meant chaos, shame, judgment, disappointment. But today was supposed to be the beginning of a forever she never asked for. Vanessa, it's time, her maid of honor whispered from the door. She looked one last time in the mirror. Smile, she told herself, but her lips wouldn't move. Her feet carried her down the aisle like they were made of stone. The guests stood. Cameras clicked. Flowers filled the air with sweetness she could barely breathe through. And then it happened. Jordan turned, smiled, whispered a name. It wasn't hers. She froze. Her mother's voice echoed in her head. Never marry a man who forgets you in the moment he should remember you most. Vanessa turned, dropped her bouquet, and ran. Gasps erupted. Her father shouted. Her bridesmaids ran after her, but she didn't stop. Out the doors, down the church steps, onto the street. Rain poured down like judgment. Her dress soaked through. Her heels snapped on the pavement, so she tore them off and ran barefoot. She didn't know where she was going, only that she had to get away. Away from the lies, away from the life someone else planned for her. Cars honked, people stared, but she didn't care. Finally, her body gave out. She collapsed behind a building, her breath shallow, tears mixing with rain. No one followed, just her and the silence, until she heard footsteps, slow, uneven, heavy, like they carried pain. The janitor appears. Vanessa tried to pull herself together, hugging her arms around her body for warmth. Her hair clung to her face. Her makeup was gone. Her veil lay somewhere back on the road, forgotten. And then she saw him, a man limping slightly, pushing a mop bucket along a back alley beside the hotel. He was tall, with kind eyes and salt and pepper hair. His janitor uniform was faded, and his right hand trembled as he gripped the mop handle. But something about him, Something she couldn't name felt safe. He stopped in his tracks when he saw her. "Are you all right, miss?" he asked, voice low, a gentle rasp. Vanessa looked away, ashamed of how ridiculous she must have looked. I just need a place to sit," she whispered. He didn't press. He simply nodded and motioned toward the open maintenance door. "Come in. You'll catch your death out here." Inside, it was warm, dimly lit, smelled faintly of lemon cleaner and fresh linen. He offered her a towel, then a seat beside a radiator. Then, without a word, he poured her a cup of instant coffee from a staff pot. She stared at him. No judgment, no questions, just kindness, and suddenly the tears returned. "I left my own wedding," she confessed in a breathy sob. The man didn't flinch. He just pulled a folding chair beside her and sat down. "Then maybe it wasn't your wedding to begin with," he said. Vanessa blinked. "What's your name?" she asked. He smiled faintly. "Daniel." She exhaled. "I'm Vanessa." He didn't shake her hand. He just nodded, like he understood, and in that dim, quiet space, for the first time all day, Vanessa felt seen. The story she never told anyone silence settled between them. A comforting silence. The kind that didn't rush or demand, but allowed space to simply exist. Vanessa cupped the warm coffee in her hands, staring into it like it might hold all the answers. "I wasn't supposed to run," she murmured. "I was supposed to smile, wave, dance, be perfect." Daniel said nothing, just waited. She hadn't told anyone how much she hated the way Jordan made her feel, like a polished trophy, a possession, like something expensive and decorative. "I grew up in a house where appearances were everything," she said. "My mother passed when I was 14. After that, my father, he became obsessed with status, with making me the daughter who fulfilled every headline." Daniel looked at her gently, never interrupting. He picked Jordan, said he was the man of the future, said I was lucky to have him. But it didn't feel like luck. It felt like a sentence. Vanessa blinked away tears. "You know what the worst part was? I let it happen. I ignored the red flags, the messages, the way he made me feel small, because I thought, maybe it was normal. Maybe love was supposed to hurt a little." Daniel's eyes softened, but he didn't offer empty sympathy. "Love doesn't shrink you," he said quietly. "It doesn't cage you. It sees you and still stays." Vanessa looked at him, surprised. He took a sip from his own mug. "I loved once, years ago. She was bright, beautiful, but I wasn't enough for her after the accident." She leaned forward slightly. "Accident?" Daniel nodded, eyes distant. "A car crash. I lost most function in my right leg, some in my hand. She left a month later." Vanessa's heart ached. He glanced at her, a faint smile at the corner of his lips. "But I kept going, found peace in quiet work, found peace in not being someone else's prize." Vanessa was quiet for a long moment. "Maybe that's what I've been too," she said. "Someone else's prize." Daniel shook his head slowly. No, you just forgot you had a voice. A crippled man with gentle eyes. The heater hummed in the background as the storm outside began to soften. Inside that small maintenance room, the air felt strangely secreted, a hidden world, far from velvet pews and crystal chandeliers. Vanessa watched Daniel as he stood slowly to refill her coffee. His limp was more pronounced now. She noticed the way he steadied himself against the counter, his hand trembling slightly before he clutched the pot. He didn't complain, didn't explain. He simply moved with quiet grace, like a man who'd accepted pain and made peace with it. When he handed her the cup, their fingers brushed. His skin was calloused, warm. She looked up into his eye sand. They startled her. Not because of their color, but because of their depth. A soft brown, like earth after rain. Eyes that had seen suffering, but had not turned bitter. She felt safe. Not pitied, not judged, just safe. They talked for hours, about nothing and everything. He told her about the books he liked to read. Poetry, mostly. "You read poetry?" she asked, surprised. He chuckled. "Even janitors need beauty." She told him about how she used to paint before her father told her it was a waste of time. "Do you miss it?" he asked. "Every day," she admitted. Daniel nodded. "Then you should start again, before you forget what your soul looks like." She blinked. Who was this man? Why did he say things that felt like truth wrapped in silk? There was a knock on the outside service door. Another staff member asking for supplies. Daniel stood to grab what they needed, and Vanessa took the moment to study him again. His gait was uneven, but controlled. His uniform had a patch with the name Daniel, faded but stitched carefully. But it wasn't just his limp or the way he winced when he bent down. It was something deeper, quiet, sorrow, carried with dignity. She wondered what it would be like to live in his world. A world without applause, without wealth, without pretenses, just honesty. She wasn't used to honesty. Not in her world. When Daniel returned, he found her sitting with her legs tucked up, sipping her coffee, watching him. "Why are you helping me?" she asked. He paused, then sat back down. "Because you look like someone who's never been helped without a price." Vanessa didn't reply. She couldn't, because he was right. A night of healing time seemed to slow in that little room. The air was heavy with unspoken thoughts, yet lighter than anywhere Vanessa had ever been. She felt no pressure to perform, no need to be graceful or strong. She kicked off the remains of her ruined shoes, pulled her knees to her chest, and wrapped herself in the blanket Daniel had offered. It was quiet, but not the kind of silence that makes you uncomfortable. The kind of silence that lets wounds breathe. Daniel sat a few feet away on an overturned paint bucket, sipping his tea slowly. He didn't glance at his watch. He didn't check his phone. It was like nothing existed outside those four walls. Vanessa couldn't remember the last time someone gave her undivided presence. She glanced at the clock. Midnight. She should go home. Or somewhere. Anywhere. But her body refused. "You know," she said softly, "I always thought weddings were magical. When I was a little girl, I would draw wedding gowns with glitter and hearts." Daniel smiled. "What changed?" "I guess I stopped believing in magic," she said, her voice almost a whisper. Daniel didn't answer right away. Then he said, "Magic doesn't disappear. People just stop looking for it." She looked at him. In the dim light, with his crooked smile and worn hands, he didn't look like a fairy tale, but he sounded like one. They talked until the hum of the radiator lulled their voices to soft murmurs. She asked him about his favorite books. He asked her about her paintings. They discovered they both liked thunderstorms. Both hated olives. Both lost their mothers too soon. She told him about the time she won a painting contest at age 9. He told her about fixing broken toys for the kids in his building, even though his own hands sometimes failed him. He made her laugh a real laugh, not the fake social laugh she had perfected for years. When her head began to droop, he offered her the cot in the back corner. She hesitated. "It's clean," he said gently. "I use it on the night shifts." She nodded. As she lay down, he turned away respectfully and began organizing supplies in the far corner, humming a soft melody to himself. Vanessa closed her eyes. She was still in a wedding dress, still barefoot, still technically homeless for the night, and yet she felt safer than she ever had in her penthouse suite. Before she drifted off, she whispered, "Thank you, Daniel." He paused his humming. "You're welcome, Vanessa."